Here is chapter 5.2. This is the homework help video. For the numbers 1 and 2, we're filling in ratio tables again. So, like we did before, to think to myself, how do I go from 1/3 to 2/3? Well, that's just multiplying by 2 right there. So I'm just going to multiply by 2 right there. 3/4 times 2 over 1. These can cancel each other out. And I get 3/2. All right. Technically, this is 3 over 1. This is actually going to help us a lot. And if we think how many 3/2 are in 3, we could just change 3 over 1 to have something over 2. Right, this would be times 2, meaning on top I would also have to multiply by 2 and get 6/2. So we'll rewrite this as 6/2. And then from 3/2 to 6/2 is also times 2. So we multiply by 2 down here. Go 2/3 times 2 over 1 is 4/3. Okay, then I knew this was 3, and from 3 to 1, that's just dividing by 3. So I can take 4/3 here and divide it by 3. Divide by 3 over 1, which really is just going to get me 4/3 times 1 over 3, or 4/9. Okay, second one here. Here we go. For this one, I'm going to start off up here. 1/4 to 3/4, that's times by 3. So we're also going to multiply by 3 here. 1/2 times 3 over 1 is just 3 over 2. And we kind of have the same situation going on here. I had 3/2 and I went to 3, so I multiplied by 2. Look at here, we have the exact same thing. So I'm just going to say, hey, that was already done for. We can multiply by 2 to get there. So I'm going to multiply by 2 up here. 3/4 times 2 over 1 simplifies to 3/2. There we go. All right, and then I've got this 5. Obviously, that's not going to help me with just that. So I could do it over 2, but in my head, I'm looking at that. To go from 3 to 10, because 5 times 2 is 10, that wouldn't really work out so well. So I'm actually going to take this over 4 because I have a 1/4, and I know that can help me because I'm just going to see, oh, it's this many fourths. Okay, so I'm going to multiply this by 4 over 4, and then that is going to result in 20 over 4, meaning to go from 1/4 to 5, I'm multiplying by 20. You could also think of it, a fourth of a dollar is a quarter. So 20 quarters is $5. If we do that, I'm going to multiply a half by 20, or think 20 cut in half. That would end up being 10. We can also notice that this right here was double. This is double right here. This is double. And this makes sense because now 5 times 2 is 10. So all that works. Okay, number 3 down here. Obviously, we can't compare fractions if they do not have the same denominator. So I'm going to multiply this side by 3, this side by 2. And I get 27 over 6, and then 16 over 6. And clearly 27 is bigger than 16. For here, I don't even have to change my denominators because I see a negative and a positive. Positive numbers are always bigger, so we will do that. Right here, though, I do have 2 negatives, so I do have to check. 24, well, that's just 8 times 3, so we'll multiply by 3 on top and bottom. Negative 6 over 24, this will become a 24. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. These two are equal. Right, per unit rate, right? We talked about this in class, right? It's like per one of something. So here I've got 256 per 8 gallons of gas. I'm looking for how many miles per 1 gallon of gas. The way we said to do that, take the first number, divide it by your second number, right? Use a calculator. If you did it um, long division wise, we would get this. 8 does not go into 2, but it goes into 25 3 times. And now I will drop that down. 8 goes into 16 twice. So we would say that my unit rate is 32 miles per 1 gallon. Right? We always, when we say a unit rate, we need that ratio right there. So 32 miles per 1 gallon. For number 12, we've got 4 grams for every 3/4 serving. I'll do that right here. I'm going to take 4 over 1 and divide it by 3 over 4, which is really 4 over 1 times 4 over 3. And I'm going to get 16 thirds. So this unit rate would be 16 over 3 grams for every 1 serving. Again, if you're doing unit rates, you should always end with per 1 or for every 1. Okay. Number 14 we'll do right here. It says $4.80 for 6 cans. I'm looking for how much per 1 can. In this case, we'll do this. 4.80. 4 does not go into, or 6 doesn't go into 4, but 6 does go into 48 8 times. Here we go, and does so evenly, meaning that this is going to result in 80 cents per 1 can. All right, number 16, put right here. Again, I'm going to take my first number, 1/3 kilogram, and divide it by my second number, 2/3 foot. This is going to turn into 1/3 times 3 over 2. And I get an answer after I simplify here of 1/2. So I would have 1/2 kilogram or kg, dot dot 1 foot. Lastly, for number 18, I'm going to make these actually into improper fractions. So I'm going to multiply and then add. This is going to give me 87 over 4. And then I'm going to divide that by 5 over 2. I like dividing fractions. It makes a little bit more sense in my head. Right, so this is going to stay 87 over 4. Now I'm going to multiply by 2 over 5. These can cancel each other out. And I am left with 87 over 10. There we go. Which, if you want to, you could leave it like that. I'm going to simplify it to 8 7/10. And then this would be meters in 1 hour. Again, for unit rate, always should have a 1 at the end. Divide your first number by the second number. Okay, a couple more here. Number 19, we're looking at a ratio table, filling in the values, and going from there. So what do we notice right away? Well, to go from 25 to 50, that's multiplying by 2. I'm going to multiply that by 2. At this point, hopefully we got it. That 1/3 times 2 is 2/3. Okay. And then from there, this is actually really nice. Because if I think how many 1/3s make a whole, if I cut a pizza up into third sections, how many sections would I need to make a whole pizza? That'd be 3. 1 over 1 is equal to 3 over 3. So there's another way we can see that. All right. 25 times 3 is 75. And would you look at that? This is actually just going up by a third every time. So if we look, I should be able to safely assume this is 100 because 1/3 times 4 is 4/3, meaning 25 times 4 will get you to 100. Right? When it says write the equivalent ratios, it means do this, right? Take all of your table and write them out. And at this point, we can kind of label these as like calories and servings. So 50 calories every 2/3 serving, 75 calories every 1 serving, and 100 calories for every 4/3 servings. If it was asking where's the unit rate, right there, because we're comparing to 1. All right, number 23 and 24, tell whether the rates are equivalent. So when I go through and find the unit rate, these should match up the same. Yep. So for this first one, I've got 75 divided by 1.5, right? If I do that on my calculator, that's going to get me 50. 38.4 divided by 0.75. We look at that. I end up with this 51.2. Easiest way to tell, right? If those two numbers don't match, then these are not equivalent. When it says justify your answer, right? We would say unit rate are not equal. Right. Number 24. So I've got 7.5. Again, I like converting these back to improper fractions divided by 3/4. That is going to be 15 over 2 times 4 over 3, which will get me to 10 miles an hour. And then for this one, really quickly here, right? The only difference we would have to worry about right here is that these two labels don't match each other. I almost forgot about that. But if those don't match, we have to make them match. And since I already did hours here, I'm actually going to turn 3 minutes into hours. You might be asking, well, how would I do that? Well, if I have 3 minutes, I know that there's 1 hour in 60 minutes. Okay, meaning 3 minutes expressed as hours would be this 3 over 60, which I could simplify as to 1 over 20. Okay, you could also get this by just dividing 3 by 60, which would make sense because that's going to tell me how many hours is 3 minutes, and I should expect a low decimal. From there, I now have this 1/2 divided by 1/20. This is going to lead to 1/2 times 20 over 1. And I get, after simplifying, this is 10. These two match, so these are equivalent. And we would say same unit rate. Okay. Number 26, last one on here. It says a shuttle leaving Earth's atmosphere travels 15 miles every 2 seconds. When entering Earth's atmosphere, a shuttle travels 2 3/8 miles per half second. Find the difference in the distance traveled after 15 seconds when leaving and entering the atmosphere. Okay, so first of all, there's a bunch of things going on here. Our first thing we're probably going to want to do is think, what is my unit rate? Because that is going to help me when I want to try and find this. Okay, so we're going to do miles and seconds. We're going to make a little table. This first one says 15 miles every 2 seconds. We've been doing a whole bunch of unit rates in this section, so we're actually going to do out of how much per 1 second. That would be my unit rate. And I can see here that this is just dividing by 2, meaning I can divide 15 by 2 to get my unit rate, how many miles per 1 second. Okay, 15 divided by 2 is 7.5, right? Because now I have a unit rate and I know I'm looking for 15 seconds, I can plop that in right here and say, oh, look at this, this is times by 15. So I can just multiply 7.5 times 15. 7.5 times 15 is going to get me 112.5. So this is 112 miles, 112.5 miles in 15 seconds. So that's for leaving. Now we need entering. All right, same thing. Miles, seconds. This time it says, ooh, it travels 2 and 3/8. I'm just going to make this like a fraction because I can, and per 1/2 second. But I think how many half seconds are in 1 full second, or my unit rate, right? 1/2 times 2 is 1. So I can just multiply this by 2. 19 times 2 over 1 is going to get me 19 over 4. And then again, it's asking for how many after 15 seconds. So I can multiply this by, and I can multiply this by 15. Same thing over here. Alrighty. 19 over 4 times 15 is 71.25. I use my calculator for that. Lastly, it says let's find the difference. Think about the word difference. That means it's a subtraction. I'm looking for how much longer or how much further does it travel between leaving and re-entering. All right. So if we do that, we are going to take these two numbers and we're going to subtract the bigger one from the smaller one and get our difference. All right. So 112.5 minus 71.25 is going to be 41.25. If I need a label, it's right there, right? This would be miles. So the difference in the distance traveled after 15 seconds when leaving and entering the atmosphere is 41.25 miles. Right, that is chapter 5.2 homework help. See you in the next one.